Hello, everyone. For my capstone project for this semester, I have decided to create a shirtwaist from scratch. When creating this project, I hope that this project would be a piece of art that could commemorate young girls, such as Pauline Levine, whose life was cut short due to the tragic Triangle Factory fire. By creating this piece of work by hand rather than copying it from someone online or buying it from a store, I decided to create my own version. The version that reflects the memory of these young girls. The version that demonstrates hope and faith that they could have had if they had not perished into the fire. This project has been able to help me bridge the past to the present and demonstrate justice, grief, and storytelling all on one fabric. When I first started to make the shirtwaist, I thought of it as just a symbolic gesture to honor Pauline Levine and the many others whose life was lost in the fire. However, it was more significant to me than I initially thought it was going to be from every step of this project, whether it's from choosing a fabric, to choosing a design, to choosing what colors to add, to choosing the symbols. I found myself slowing down and connecting with the past. I realized that I was no longer just recreating a garment of my own version. I was actually stepping into their world, into their lives temporarily. As this is my first experience ever sewing a shirtwaist of my own, it was very difficult. However, I was determined to showcase the memory of the immigrant girls who perished in the fire by completing a shirtwaist of my own. The repetitive motions of sewing forced me to think of the reality the girls faced daily. I began to think of the long hours they worked, their low wages, and their unsafe working conditions. I was reminded that the clothing that we wear today often comes from someone else's hardship, because we still have the same unsafe working conditions in certain factories happening currently. While working on the shirtwaist, I knew Pauline Levine was not just a name. She was not just a story. As immigrants, she's one of us. Knowing that she made similar garments under pressure made me sympathize with her, as it is a very hard job to do, especially when there is no time, less pay, and no experience. I have also realized that this project has challenged me in ways where I get to think creatively. How can I honor the past using art? What are some ways I can honor the past creatively? I realized that it required a lot of effort, patience, and hard work to make an apparel that demonstrates not just the newly found independence for women, but the lost lives of the victims from the tragic Triangle Fire. As I worked through this project, it seemed as though each thread carried a story. It seemed as though each seam had a voice. I thought of Pauline Levine as I was sewing the shirtwaist, and I could now relate to these girls through a sewing machine. Holding Pauline Levine's name close to me reminded me of how important her story is. I thought about what she could have become, what were her hopes, what were her dreams. As I added colors of butterflies and flowers, I hoped to symbolize her lost hopes and lost dreams that were engulfed in the fire. As her name began to etch onto the shirtwaist, I realized that this shirtwaist was forever going to be a sacred object of remembrance. I reflected on how much sacrifices young women like Pauline Levine took when entering the workforce at that time without any options. I reflected on how immigrants like Pauline and I share the same goal of paving the way for a better life by working despite any difficulties. As I etched the image of the fire onto the back of my shirtwaist, I thought of the negligence of the owners. I thought of the devaluation of human life. I thought of the victims that were locked inside a factory struggling to escape. This project has proven to be very important to me as it helps preserve and reflect history and honor the lives that were cut short. Not only was I able to engage into this project intellectually, but I was able to engage in this project emotionally and physically. I realized that in the end, that memory is something that we have to work for in order to maintain, carry, and share with the future generations. In the end, I now see the shirtwaist as both an artifact and a promise. It serves as a reminder of the past tragedy of the Shirtwaist Triangle Factory fire, and it also creates a commitment to call upon actions that will protect workers in the future to prevent tragedies. This shirtwaist embodies pain but also resistance. It carries sorrows but also the power of memory and remembrance. It carries hope that lives will no longer be jeopardized if labor laws are implemented. In the end of this project, I've learned that even a simple garment of a shirtwaist can carry generations of history and hopes.